All right, welcome back to section 3 of the Scrape the Planet course. If you didn't watch section 1 and 2, if you didn't watch the last couple of videos, they are very, very important. In the last video, we finished off a scraper for Yahoo Finance to pull down stock data. In this section, we're going to be pivoting quite a bit. We're going to look at IMDb. So let's pull up our web browser. We can close out all of the Yahoo Finance stuff. Let's go to IMDb. We're specifically interested this time in getting information about actors. So let's search for Sylvester Stallone. And we'll go to the first link. So Sylvester Stallone, obviously Rocky Balboa, The Expendables, all of that fun stuff. One of my all-time, maybe not favorite actors, but definitely one of the formative ones. Whenever I would watch movies with my dad, he was basically in everything. So I watched all of the Rocky movies. We're specifically interested in grabbing all of the movies that Sylvester Stallone has been in. All the way from the ones that he's going to be in, like The Expendables 4 here, all the way down to some of the ones that I've never even watched, like The Square Root apparently was his first movie. So we're interested in looking up and seeing which movies that different actors have been in. And we don't just want to do this with Sylvester Stallone, obviously. We want to do this with any given actor. So we're going to use the two libraries that are near and dear to us already. We're going to use import requests. We're going to import BeautifulSoup. And we're going to save that as soup and this as rec. And then let's also import JSON. It's going to be kind of important. And we're also going to use import sys. So JSON is going to be what we use to save stuff to files, which is fairly important, but it's also going to be what we kind of use to just process things in general. We'll use it a little bit later on to kind of save information to files and things like that, like I said, but we'll get to that a little bit later. So, like I said, we want to grab the actor's filmography, which is all of the films that the actor has been in. So first we're going to get some information from the user. That's what sys is for. Sys is useful for getting command line arguments. So we're going to say actor underscore name equals sys.argv1. And what this line is going to do is it's going to grab the first argument that the user passes to the command line. So if I open up the terminal here, we're going to do Python, and then this first argument right here, we're going to put it in quotes because we'll have a space in between. Sylvester, let's hope I spelled that right. So that's going to be the first argument. Now you'll notice that this is a 1 and not a 0. Sys and argv automatically loads the name of the file in as the thing at index 0. So if we do this and print actor name, then we can see it spits out our file name right here instead of the command line argument. So we want 1, which is going to be the next command line argument, which should be Sylvester Stallone. Perfect. So now we've got our actor name from user. Now, we're going to get into something a little bit more complicated. The last time we could kind of we could create our URLs very, very easily. It was just yahoofinance.com or finance.yahoo.com/quote/the ticker. So AAPL was the one that we used as kind of an example Apple stock ticker. In this one, it's not as easy because as we can see, there's an intermediary page here. So if we go to search for Sylvester Stallone, and we get over to Sylvester Stallone's page. Now let's look up here. This right here, NM0000230, that's not super useful to us. Let's save this right quick, and let's look at it. So this happens not infrequently for Sylvester Stallone. that is his actor page link. That is going to be what we're actually looking for in order to get his filmography. This is not uncommon. You're not always going to run into cases where it's incredibly easy to get the page that you're looking for just right off the bat, like it was with Yahoo Finance. Instead, we're going to have to make two different requests. The first request is going to be to grab this actor's unique identifier right here in order to build our next request to actually get his page. So let's do that. Here's how we're going to do it. Let's do search request is equal to requests. It's going to be a GET request. And let's go back to the search page and look at that. So whenever we search for the actor's name, we can just do it from here. Let's do a different one. Let's do Jason Statham, another action movie star. So when we do this search, we could probably get rid of this right here. Let's test to make sure we can. So when we get the search, we actually can see the actor's name up here. It's next to the Q equals, and that's going to be the query that you're running right there. And it's going to be a variable passed to the /finds page. So we're going to make our base URL for the search, base URL for search, base underscore URL equals, and let's just grab basically everything from the question mark. Well, let's just do Q equals over. And that is going to be our base URL. And the actual page that we want to grab is the base URL plus the actor's actual name. And the great thing about requests is that it handles the URL encoding for you, so it automatically puts this plus in the name instead of you having to do that. So if we create the requests, let's do search rec equals requests. Oh, I've already got it down here, duh. So if we do request.get, and we're going to do base underscore URL plus actor underscore name. And let's go ahead and print out the status code of that just to make sure it works. Search rec.status underscore code. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Requests not, oh, it's supposed to be rec. Rec. Sometimes I actually forget I'm trying to make it easier on myself by shortening things. Sylvester Stallone, and then we get a 200 code there. So it actually did succeed getting to the page. Now whether it got to the page that we actually want it to get to, that's a different question. So let's assume that it did. And if it did, we get to this page. Now, we're looking through here, and in order to make life a little bit easier on us and for this to not be just a super long course, I'm going to kind of simplify this and say, let's just go ahead and grab the first link right here. So let's inspect this. And we see that this probably is the link that we want right here. But we have a problem. The problem is it doesn't have an ID, it doesn't have a class. This href right here doesn't have exactly what we're looking for. So we have to run over to its parent instead. Right here we see that there is a TD class, and that contains this href that we're actually looking for. Href is just a link on a page. So anything that links to another page, as we can see here, that is the page that we're actually looking for. So anything that links to another page is typically going to be an href. So what we can do is we can grab the parent. So let's just grab both of these tags right here. Well, I'll try to. Here, I'll copy this. This is what we want. What we want. Right, double commented that for no reason. And we're going to also save the parent of what we want. And what a parent is it's just the tag that immediately encapsulates the tag that we want. So this tag right here, as we can see, is inside this TD tag right here. So this is what we actually want. And that is the tag that we're looking for. So this actually grabs the child tag as well along with it. We don't need that. All right. Let's close that out just because I'll get weird if I don't. All right. So now we know that we've got the parent tag and we've got the child tag. Now here's one of the most powerful things about BeautifulSoup. BeautifulSoup actually makes it incredibly easy to grab results based on their parent tag. And that's just kind of because that's how HTML works. A lot of times you're going to get situations like this where you won't have like a class or an ID that's associated with the piece of data that you want. So you can just go ahead and grab the parent and then run a search on the parent. Obviously, since this parent only has a couple of things in it, it's going to be a very quick search to search through this parent's, basically their child tags. So that's exactly what we're going to do. So we're going to load it into BeautifulSoup. Search soup is equal to soup with search_rec.text, and we are going to use the HTML.parser. That should work, theoretically. There's no reason why it shouldn't. So now we've got it loaded up into a soup object, and we're going to run a find. So we're going to find the parent is equal to search soup. We're going to grab the first instance of a TD whose class is equal to result_text. All right, so we have the parent node now. Now it's incredibly easy to search for the child of that. So in order to search for the child, we can run this. It's equal to parent.find. We are looking for a tag, and we want the href. And in order to find the href, it's a little bit odd, I guess, compared to a lot of other things. But what we're going to do here is, well, if I can get my mouse over there, we're going to grab the href of this, and we're just going to print it. Print. And this should be the actor link. Actor link, and we'll print out child. So let's see if all of this works. Let's test it out in order to show that it works, and then I'll kind of run you through exactly what this is doing. So this is saying the actor's link is name/that. So theoretically, if we run over here, and instead of this search query, we paste this value in, which should be the actor page for Sylvester Stallone, we get Sylvester Stallone's page. So let me walk you through what happened. First, this is going to run a search on Sylvester Stallone. So as you can see, we end up getting this page. We don't really care too much about these variables. We end up at this page right here. Let's look at the source. In this whole page, it's going to grab the first instance of a tag whose class, a TD tag, whose class is result_text. So it grabs that. Let me show you where that happens. That happens right here. So it grabs that and stores it in the parent object. This parent object is a soup object, exactly like the search soup is. But the search soup object is the that is the soup object for the entire page. This right here is only a soup object for this particular section of the page. So this section that we ran this query across, it is only creating a soup object with that. And we can run a search across that using find the exact same way that we did for the big page. So this child right here is going to look within the parent object. So it's going to look within this object right here, and it's going to look for the first A tag within that object. And it's only going to search within that object. That's one of the most powerful parts of BeautifulSoup. So we now have the actor link. And in order to actually make a request, we need the whole actor link. As you can see right here, we only have a partial link because these links are all relative to the IMDb website. Instead, we need actor link. Actor link, if I can spell correctly, is, let's see, we're looking for HTTPS imdb.com, and then plus child. So that will be the full link for the actor's page. Now, let's kind of simulate what our scraper is going to be doing here. We're going to go to the actor's page here, and we're looking for the actor's filmography. That is in this section right here. Now, just to kind of scope it down, because scoping is incredibly important, like we talked about in the last sections, we are only going to be dealing with movies where the actor was an actor, not movies where the actor was a writer, producer, director, soundtrack, artist, additional crew, thank you. Like, all of this stuff is extra information that we might be interested in later, but just to kind of keep the scope reasonable, we're only going to talk about movies that the actor actually acted in. So, we have the actor's link. Now let's make a request to their actual page. So, actor page is equal to, let's do rec.get actor underscore link. Alright, so we've got the actor page. Let's load it up in its soup object. We're going to do actor soup is equal to soup actor page.text because we want the actual HTML, and we're going to use html.parser for this page. So now we have our soup object. Let's start diving into the page itself. So we're looking for this table right here. We're going to use our handy dandy inspect and look at this table. And one of the cool things about inspecting, at least with Brave and a lot of the other like Chrome-based browsers, is it has this highlight feature. I've actually seen that in most browsers. So you can actually see as you're scrolling over all of, like what these things actually are on the page. Now we've got this master div right here that definitely holds all of the information that we want. Let's go ahead and grab that and have that be like the master parent. So let's do actor table is equal to actor soup dot get, not find. And we are looking for a div. Let's scroll back here. And we've got an ID here, which is fantastic. That is exactly what we want. We're actually going to grab, oh no, that's the header actually. We don't want that. But we do want this right here. So we're looking for this div actually. This div would do it, but it doesn't have an ID. We want this div right here. It at least has a class. So this class right here is going to be what we use. So it's filmo-category-section. We're going to copy that element. Let's do outer HTML so we don't just grab a ton. Let's make sure that that's actually what we want. Nope, that is way too much. Instead, let's just copy and paste that class name right here. If I can. Let's see. Here, I'll just memorize it. Filmo-category-section. Class equals filmo-category-section. Yep, that's it. Okay. So we're going to look for the div that has that particular class. So remember that you have to use class underscore in order to do it, since class is a reserved word in Python. And we're going to do filmo-category-section. Right, and that will grab this div right here, which is exactly what we're looking for. That has all of the data that we want in it. So let's dive into this div. As we can see, all of this stuff is thrown into this table. And at first, it looks really, really nice because it's got IDs. But as we can see, all of these IDs are different. It's not really going to help us too much to search based on these IDs. It's just kind of like weird. As we can see as well, the classes are alternating based on odd and even. So that's not going to be super useful. We would kind of have to like build a kind of a weird parser for that. So instead, let's look within these. We're not really interested in the year column. That's not like very interesting to us. We've got an href right here for in production. Now this right here, as we can see over here, if we look at what it's highlighting, that's actually highlighting the name of the movie, and that's what we're the most interested in. So let's dive into this B tag right here. So as we can see here we've actually got the link to the movie and the name of the movie. Now, this isn't perfect the way that we're about to do this, but it is a method. Since we're within this master div right here, the filmography div, we can kind of be a little bit more lax in the way that we run our searches. So instead of looking for these sub divs, so let's kind of minimize this. Instead of looking at these sub divs right here with the filmo row odd, filmo row even, all of that, let's instead dive a little bit deeper into that and look at the B's. Let's see if we can do that instead. And since we're grabbing a ton of them, we're not going to use find, we're going to use find all. So let's do movies is equal to actor table dot find underscore all, since we're looking for a whole list of them, and we're looking for B tags. As you can see, unfortunately, these B tags, they don't have any like class information, and the hrefs within them don't have any class information. If we kind of scroll down, take like a random sample, it's the exact same down here as well. So we're just going to grab the B tags, and we're going to iterate for movie, and let's just do the first 5 of them. Movies, take a subsection of that to number 4. So what this is doing is, instead of going through all of the movies within the actor table, we're only going to go through like the first 4 of them. And we're going to print out. Now, actually, if we look at this here, what we're actually interested in is an A tag within the B tag, which really starts to get into like how annoying HTML can be. So instead of getting the B tag, instead of printing out the information on the B tag, let's grab the A tag that is basically within the B tag. So we're going to grab the child of a child, basically. So movie title equal to movie.finds, because there's only going to be one A within it, so it's pretty easy. And we're going to grab the dot text, I believe. I think that's going to be how we end up doing it. Let's see. Good thing is we can test it out pretty easy. So standard debug, movie, and movie title. Now let's see if this works. We've kind of written a lot of code since we last tested it. And if this works, I will kind of walk you through exactly what this does. So we're going to run it on Sylvester Stallone. So we've got the actor link there, and we've successfully gotten all of his movies. That's probably the quickest I've ever gotten something to work. So let's take a pause real quick, and let's walk through what this actually does from the very beginning. So we're grabbing the actor name from the command line. That's fairly easy. This is going to be the base URL for the search page. So let's walk through that from the perspective of the scraper. So from the perspective of the scraper, we're going to search for Sylvester Stallone. We can get rid of this right here because the scraper doesn't really care about it. So this is going to be the page that it lands on first. So it lands on this page, and we can actually walk through this. Well, let's not walk through it side by side. The text might be small to begin with, so I don't want to do that. So we're going to load that into its own soup object after we run the search with the actor's name. Now, we're first going to find the very first TD instance that has result underscore text as its class. As we can see, the very first one is right here. And the thing that I was talking about before is we're going to make a pretty critical assumption here. The assumption is that every time we run this search with that particular query, the first one on the page is going to be the one that we're interested in. If we're doing this like in prod, if we've actually got users who are using this, we might not want to make that assumption, because I might actually be looking for Salman Khan. Oh, his nickname is the Sylvester Stallone of India. That's why he showed up. So we might actually be interested in this guy. But we're going to make an assumption that we're not. We're going to make the assumption that the very first result is the one that we're interested in. So over here where we run find this first time, that's only going to grab the very first instance of that TD with the class result underscore text. Then we're going to run a search on that object, that sub-object of the page, for the first href, or the first A tag within that, and we're going to grab the href. and that is going to be the relative link to the actor. So the relative link means that it's this instead of the full link with imdb.com in front of it. So we're going to construct the imdb.com full link along with the child link right here, and we're going to grab the actor's page. That is akin to us clicking, just like that. So now that we're on the actor's page, we know exactly what we're looking for. We are looking for the actor's filmography. The actor's filmography is within this div right here, within a div with the class of filmo-category-section. So we can see that. Go to inspect, and that is right here. Filmo-category-section. This is the table that we're interested in. Within that table, we've got a bunch of divs with classes and IDs that don't exactly make it super easy to actually walk through this. So instead of walking through those divs, we're going to skip through those divs and just grab the B tags. Those B tags actually contain the information that we're interested in, but they contain it within a child. So as we walk through this entire list of movies, we're not going to print the B tag. We're not interested in the B tag. We're interested in the text of the A tag within the B tag, within the div, within the page. It's tons and tons of nesting, and it might be confusing at first, but it actually makes things a lot easier, especially down the line once we really start, like, we start talking about things that are a bit more complex. So as kind of like an example, we can actually grab the movie link pretty easily as well. That's the movie link is equal to movie.find at A, because we are still interested in the A, but instead of the text, we're going to grab the href. So movie at link, and we'll print the movie link as well. And instead of only taking the first four, since we think this might work, let's just run through all of them. And we're going to print out Sylvester Stallone's entire filmography from our scraper. So it prints out the link, and then we've got actually all of the relative links. So that's, that's kind of annoying, but basically what we can do is https://imdb.com/ well, it already has a slash in there. So let's rerun it there. That way we get a full link that we can actually click on to verify these results. So this is actually in order, in the same order that it is on the page. Let's go to Saturday Night Live right here. And if we pull that up, it pulls up Saturday Night Live. Not super useful since this is like obviously a huge series. Let's pick another one. Let's do Creed. I saw Creed 2, great movie. So let's open that up, Creed 2, and it pulls up the actual movie. So we are successfully grabbing the actor's filmography with like 37 lines of code automatically, and we can obviously run this across multiple actors. So let's try instead, let's do Jason Statham. So we run through that, and it grabs all of Jason Statham's movies. We're just going to run through the entire cast of The Expendables, I guess. Jet Li. I believe he was in The Expendables, right? Yeah. Good thing is, we have a script that can actually check that. So yeah, The Expendables 2, so he was in the first one as well, because they kind of just recycled their entire actor list. So, with just like 37 lines of code, now we've become like the life of the party. Anytime somebody asks, hey, was so-and-so in this movie? What movies were like, was this guy in? All of that. We can answer that question with code. You will be the life of the party, I promise, just dragging a laptop around with, scrapers and things like that on it. It's going to make you a very popular person in all of the parties, I promise. So what I was talking about with JSON, all of this data is interesting, but it doesn't really help much if all it's doing is showing it on the screen. So we're going to build an object based on this. So let's do actor_object is equal to just an empty dictionary. And we're going to say the actor_object at name is equal to actor_name. I'm just making sure I had that right. Actor_name. And what we're doing here is we're building a dictionary that's going to contain all of the information relevant to that actor. And I'll show you why here in a second. Let's do actor_object at link. And we'll make make that equal to the actor link. Now, actor underscore object at movies. And we're going to first just make that an empty array. Now, within this iterator right here, what we're going to do is we're going to build a movie object equal to, and here it's going to be pretty simple, title, movie title, and link, movie link. All right, so we've made the movie object, and then we're going to throw that movie object into that empty array that we were talking about. So actor underscore object at movies. We're going to append a new movie object, and we're going to throw in movie underscore obj. And I promise all this is about to make sense. Let's comment out this print right here, and instead, at the very end after all of this, we're just going to print out the actor object. So I'm going to show you what this looks like, and then I'm going to explain why we would do this. So let's run it on JetLi. So we've got all this gobbledygook that's not just, you know, super helpful, but we can see that it creates this dictionary with all of the interesting information that that we want in it. So here's why we would do this. We're going to start actually writing this information out to files so that we can use it later on. So let's first open file, and we're going to just name it, let's just call it the actor name. And then it's going to be a JSON file, because that's going to be the format that you're going to want to use for that. And we're going to open it as write. So what we're going to do here is we're going to load this dictionary into a JSON object. So actor underscore JSON is equal to JSON.dumps actor underscore obj. And what this basically does, it's object. And what this basically does is it takes a dictionary and converts it to a JSON object instead, which makes it a lot easier to do this. f.write actor underscore JSON, and then we're going to close it. So what we'll end up having is the ability, let's comment out this print because we don't really need that right now. It gives us the ability to save all of the information as we're searching. So Jason Statham, and it finishes running. Let's look over here in our files, and we've got a JSON file. Now, if we format this, one of the great things about VS Code is it has plugins that will help you format JSON, and it ends up looking like this. We've got a nice, pretty JSON object that we can then feed into new programs of our choice. We're not going to be sticking with just raw JSON files for too terribly long, but that is kind of like the first step of making this data something more than just printing out to the screen. After all, when you're building scrapers, you want them to be things that actually save the data so that you can analyze it and act on it later on, whether that be with like a stock price watcher or analyzing stock data or analyzing social media data. You actually want to end up saving this stuff later on instead of just printing it out to the screen every single time you run a search. So this is going to be the first way that we do that. We're going to save it into these JSON files. As you can see, every time we run on something new, let's do JSON, is it M-O-M? Oh, wait, let's do somebody else so I don't screw that up. Let's just do JetLi. So we run it on JetLi, and we should get a file for JetLi, format it, and yep, we've got a JSON file with JetLi's information in it. So this is how you start saving data. We're going to start saving data in databases fairly soon. I believe that's actually in the section, like the next section probably, setting up. Yeah, we're going to start dealing with Postgres databases very, very soon. So that's going to be probably the next section that we deal with is taking stuff. Instead of saving it into JSON files, we're going to actually store them in databases. All right, that was a lot. That's 34 minutes recorded right now. So that's a lot of information, but actually not that much code. We're talking about 55 lines of code in like 5 of that is actually just dumping it out to a file. So it's not super complex, but I do want you to walk through it and make sure that you understand every line of this. Make sure that all of this makes sense. It's actually, I was looking at my cheat sheet, it's actually less code than I thought. It's like 52 lines. So walk through every line of this code and make sure that you understand how it works. And if you don't understand it, hit me up on Twitter, leave a comment on the video, or leave it in your feedback, something like that. Find some way to contact me and I'll explain it. But hopefully it was clear enough the first time. Thank you so much for sticking along with this series. If you have any recommendations, any feedback, and you're watching this on Udemy, feel free to leave some sort of class review. If you want to wait till the very end of the class to post all of your recommendations or the things that you had issues with, feel free. But those reviews really help out when I'm trying to kind of figure out what I need to change, different things that I should add to the course later on, things like that. If you're watching on YouTube, obviously comments are very, very welcome. I will try my very best to answer as many comments as humanly possible. Yeah, I hope that it was clear enough without any questions that you have to ask. But feel free to hit me up however you would like. Thank you guys so much. I really look forward to building out something really cool with databases here in a second. That's going to kind of take us up to the next level of professional scrapers. Take it easy.